Hello, everybody. Hello, lovely to see some familiar faces and a couple of new faces as well. Hello, Katrina. Hello, Stanley. I hope you're doing well. Darren, I've known for a while, but I think this might be the first time, Darren, you've come to the forum, I believe. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but welcome. Sarah, of course, I can never get enough of your lovely face, Sarah. So, of course, you are welcome. Harvey, I think, is still connecting to audio. So, hopefully, we'll get Harvey soon. Okay, so there he is. There's Darren. How are you doing, lovely? I've not seen you in a while. I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing really well, thank you.
I can't hear you. Is that just me and my sound? Yes, my sound is all the way down. That's not good. There we go. Now I can hear you. Are you doing well, Darren?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Excellent. Okay, so I think this is your first time at the forum. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Welcome. We have a new person. This is awesome. Oh, we've got Jeroy as well, who I also believe is new. Okay, so I'm going to let the room run for a couple of more minutes to see who else is going to join us. Hello, Harvey. Lovely to see you again. And then the people who've been here before will know what I always do. But Darren, as you're new, I'll tell you. If you can all go into the chat and tell me what you'd like to gain from today's session. So you're giving me 45 minutes of your valuable time today. I'm sure you're all ultra busy, aren't we all nowadays? So if you give me 45 minutes, it usually means that you've come here to gain something. So go into the chat now. Just put in a few words regarding what you're looking to get. It just means that I can make sure that hopefully my little presentation will cover it. If it doesn't, I will cover that in the Q&A portion. And if it's a particularly meaty thing that we want to discuss, I may even create an entire forum at a later date just dedicated to what you're wanting to learn. So do go into the chat now. Hello, Jeroy.
Hey, how
Thank
you
you
doing?
for joining us. Hello there. So I've just told the others, I'm just letting the room run for a couple of more minutes to see who's going to join us. If you can just go into the chat and tell me what you'd like to gain from today's session. And then that will really help me. It focuses me, and then I can make sure that I'm giving everything that everybody needs here. Okay. So, oh, we've already got some good. So Sarah's got all your best top tips for writing and winning book. Absolutely. Hi, Harvey. Lovely to see you. Katrina, kicking that imposter syndrome out the door. Oh, we'll make sure you do that, Katrina. Don't you worry about that. We'll make sure we do that. Yes, and this is actually a really good session because this is all about how my clients and I, because I've written a book as well, my clients and I have figured out what was wrong with our books before we published, and that really does knock out imposter syndrome, Katrina, because when you've got external feedback telling you your book is good before you launch it, and you find out from the rest of the world that the book wasn't all that good, this is the best way to do it. So that's exactly what we're going to cover today. Okay, so we might have a couple of more people joining us, but let's get started. I don't want to keep you guys too long. I have promised you I'm only keeping you 45 minutes, and I'll put you out back into the wild. So let's get started. Okay, so if I can ask, so Joy says structure within chapters and sub-chapters. Yes. This that I won't cover so much in this topic, Joy, but I do cover this in a future forum. I do go into how to plan and structure a book. So we will cover that. Okay, so if I can ask just for the next few moments, if you can put yourself on silent, it just means that while I'm talking, you might have noticed I'm on a treadmill as well. And I am now just about able to walk and talk at the same time. But if there's a loud noise, I'd probably end up in that bookshelf behind me, and you don't want that to happen. So if you can just put yourself onto mute for now, and then that way at least I can talk. And then in the next section, then of course I want you to come off mute and actually give me your thoughts, your questions, and your feedback. Okay, so let me just start sharing my screen. Give me 2 moments. Okay, so can everybody see the screen? Just give me a thumbs up so I know you can all see it. I'm not just seeing this myself. Awesome, that's great. Okay, so first of all, welcome to the Thought Leader Author Forum. Quite a few familiar faces and a couple of new faces. Welcome. So the people who've been here before will know this, but the people who haven't, I'm just going to go through the main structure of how these forums how these forums turn out every single week that we do them. So they always come in 2 parts. The first part is I will talk about the topic of the day. So today's topic is all about how you can spot a dud book or a book where there's something really wrong with it before you launch to the public, because that's the best way to do it. You want to know if you've gone off track before you launch it. The last thing you want is to find out that you were off track because you got a string of 1 and 2 star reviews. That does nothing for your self-esteem. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about. And then part 2, my favorite bit of the forum, is where I open it up to the floor. And this is where I want you guys to get involved. Tell me your experiences. Tell me your thoughts. Ask me your questions. That's my favorite bit of the forum, because that's where we can really make sure everyone gets what they need from today's session. There's a reason why I call it a forum, and it's not a masterclass or a workshop, or not that there's anything wrong with those things. But I think sometimes the best learning happens when we do it in a way where we're all talking together, like a round table. So that's why I created the forum. And also, because you've come here, you will get this workbook sent to you tomorrow morning. So this was, if you, by the way, if you want to scribble down notes, feel free to scribble down notes. However, I'm just letting you know you don't need to, because tomorrow morning you will receive everything that I talk about today. In fact, more detail than I can go into today, because I only have a short amount of time today. You'll get everything sent to you via email tomorrow. So if you want to just sit back, have your cup of tea or coffee or whatever it is, and not take notes, just be aware you don't have to worry. You're not missing anything. Plus, you'll get the replay as well, so you can watch this again. And also, just to thank you for coming to the Thought Leader Author Forum. In fact, I'm going to do this now. You can actually pick one of these amazing causes, and we will donate on your behalf to one of these causes. So it costs you absolutely nothing, not even a penny from your pocket, but just to reward you for coming to the Thought Leader Author Forum, you can just pick one of these amazing organizations and we'll make a donation for you. In fact, I'm going to actually do that now, because it means that you guys can do it while I am speaking. So there it is. Let me put this into the chat now. Can you all see that? If you just put a thumbs up and let me know that it's actually got into the chat, awesome. So just go in there. The hardest part really is just picking one of them, because they're all flipping amazing. That's the hardest bit about having to choose between causes. But apart from that, that is a gift that we give you where we're giving back to the world. Okay, so let's get started. So this week on Monday, I decided to put a poll up. I always do this. I always like polling my audience on LinkedIn just to get the temperature of a particular topic. So obviously today's topic is all about, you know, how people feel confident about their books before they're publishing. So I asked, how confident would you be that a book you've written is destined for success? And then please explain your choice in the comments below. Only 19% said very confident. 67% said confident, but they wanted confirmation. And that is the key thing. And 15% said not confident. Here are just some of the comments that I received. I mean, I received over 30 comments, so this is just a selection. So we've got Laura says, I think we can get lost in our own minds when writing and forget the end user. It's always good to have someone else proofread the idea and concept, and indeed any drafts, in my honest opinion. She's very true. I call it being, you know when you can't see the wood for the trees sometimes? That's what it's like with your book. You can get so into your book that you can't see even glaring mistakes or issues in there. Justin says, you never would know until it's out. We all think the best, but sometimes the outcome doesn't always come that way. I actually replied back to Justin saying, oh no, you need to know more. You need to know me more, because there is a way to find out before the book comes out. In fact, that's what this whole topic's all about. How do you find out when there's something wrong with your book before you launch it? You don't want to learn after you've launched it. That's a horrible way of finding out. Yeah. And Zena says it's often hard to be objective about your own work. She's hit the nail on the head there. I almost jokingly say books are like babies. You always think yours is beautiful, even though the rest of the world's going, oh my God, that's not a beautiful baby at all. It's exactly the same thing with the book. She says, I'd feel more confident about getting input from a focus group of target readers and incorporating their feedback. She's on the money there. She actually gets how this works. So how do you test your book before launching to the public? How do you do it? And you do it through using amazing people called beta readers, or as I found out from my American cousins, beta readers. I was saying beta readers a couple of weeks ago to somebody, and for about 5 minutes, he's like, Natalia, I don't know what you're talking about. And then he realized I was saying beta. That's how they say it in the US. Beta or beta, they mean the same thing, but that's what you need, beta readers. So why beta readers? Beta readers, by the way, are people who read your book before you actually physically launch it. Well, first of all, it allows you to create a private risk-free launch. So you're doing almost like a soft launch to a small group of people and getting their feedback before you let your book loose on the world. Yeah. And it lets you understand if you hit the mark with your target audience. Like I just said before, sometimes you're too close to it. You can't see the wood for the trees. You may have made certain assumptions in your book because, again, you're so close to that industry or that topic that you're talking about that you just missed it. So what makes a great beta reader? This is a key thing. So a lot of people are like, oh, cool, I'll just go and get a load of people to read my book. You've got to find great beta readers. Don't just pick anybody. What makes a great beta reader? You need someone who closely matches your target audience persona. This is so important. If you just start hiring anybody that they're not your target audience for your book, they're going to give you feedback that isn't really relevant. Remember, these books you're not just writing these books for fun. You're writing these books to resonate with your target audience for your business, your brand, your nonprofit, whatever it is that you have. So you need to make sure that whoever you send out, whoever you choose to be your beta reader, ideally is in your target audience or is, I would say, audience adjacent. You do get people who may not be exactly your audience, but they're audience adjacent, or they really understand your audience. Perhaps somebody who even works with your audience. That could be a great beta reader, okay? And the other thing is you don't want someone who is close to you, because then emotions come to the fore when giving you feedback. So the number of times I've had to tell my clients, yeah, your mother is not a good beta reader, sorry. And they're like, oh, but my mother's really good. She used to be an English teacher and she used to be, I'm like, I don't really care. If you want to give her a copy of your book anyway, just absolutely, she's your mother. But I wouldn't really be taking her feedback when it comes to, I wouldn't treat her as a beta reader, put it that way. Take her opinion by all means, but I wouldn't treat her as a beta reader. Reason why is your mother is your mother, okay? So either she's going to be overly nice to you because she's your mother, or if she's anything like my mother, she's going to be overly critical. Because that's how my mother shows me love, by the way. When she stops criticizing me, that's when I get worried. When she's criticizing me, I'm like, oh, I'm loved. And that's just how my mother is. But when you choose someone who is close to you to become your beta reader, unwittingly, they bring all of your relationship history into the fore. You do not want that. You want as unbiased as your beta readers can be, because that is how you're going to get the most honest and real feedback. Okay, so choose your beta readers widely. They need to closely match your target audience, and it's not someone you have a close relationship with. So close family members, close friends are just a big no-no, because they're bringing in the emotions of a pre-existing relationship with you. Okay, so if now that you know how to find great beta readers, you're probably thinking, well, how do I do this? How do I go about getting feedback? The two words that you need to think of is you need to guide your beta readers and you need to standardize the kind of feedback you get. Those two are the most important things. Feedback is great up to a certain point, but I've seen many people get overwhelmed when they haven't guided their beta readers correctly. So their beta readers are doing, different people are doing loads of different kinds of things. And also the feedback they're getting is not in any kind of standard format. Think about it. You tell two people to do something, they could take it in completely different ways. You can ask two people to read your book, and one person thinks, okay, they just want like a paragraph, just me telling them what I think of it. Another person goes into completely opposite end of the scale and goes into editing mode, and they're now sending you an essay on your book and what the changes they think that you should make in it. That can be very overwhelming. So you need to guide them, and you need to make sure the feedback you get from them is in some kind of standard format so you can compare and contrast all the different kinds of feedback you're getting. So if you're thinking, right, great, how the hell do I do that, Mitali? That sounds great, but I don't know how to do that. Don't worry, I've done all the thinking for you. So this is my beta review form, beta reader review form. I created this back in 2019. And that was after I'd published 5 clients who really struggle with their beta readers because they didn't have a way of guiding them, and they didn't have a way of creating a standardized form of feedback from those beta readers. So with that, I created this form. In fact, what I'll do, hopefully I should have this form. Here we go. Okay, so let me go through this, and then you can see. And by the way, you will get this sent to you as well with the workbook tomorrow. I'll make sure you get this. So you will have this tomorrow morning. My assistant will email it out to you. Okay, so this is a beta review form. Now, first of all, I mean, that's just self-explanatory. You're just getting details from the person. And here is where I literally guide them. This is the most important thing. You really need to guide your beta readers. Chances are your beta readers never even been somebody else's beta reader before, so they don't even know what is expected of them. Other people may have been beta readers for other people, but they didn't get this kind of guidance. So they don't really know what you want for them. You've got to be very firm and let them know this is what I'm looking for. So you pretty much, I love the fact that I put this in important. I'm letting them know I'm interested in your general impression of what I've written so far. Please don't spend a lot of time analyzing things in detail. This is all about the information, the scope of it, and how ideas are explained. There is another stage after this to pick up basic spelling and grammar mistakes. That's really important. Some people think beta reading is becoming an editor. No, an editor is an editor. Those are wonderful people who that's what they do all day, every day, is they edit books. So that's not what you're expecting from somebody. What you're expecting from somebody is, I want you to tell me, does this book hang together? Does it make sense? Does the structure make sense? Have I sequenced the information in the right way? Or are you sat there confused at some point thinking, how's it gone from here to here? I don't get this. There's a leap here and I didn't understand that. Those are the gaps that you're wanting your beta readers to find, not your spelling mistakes or your grammar issues. Or, I mean, if something is hugely glaring, they can point it out. But apart from that, there is an editing process your book will go through to iron out all of those kinds of issues. That's not what you're looking for. You're looking to make sure, does your book resonate with your target audience, and is it giving them what they need? That's what you're looking for. Okay. So here, by the way, what I also do, now you can do this. This is a nice little touch. You don't have to do this, but I always say I will acknowledge you in the acknowledgements in my book. Again, it makes a beta reader feel like, oh, they're going to get some kind of acknowledgement. Because you have to remember, a lot of people say yes to a lot of things. Doesn't mean they're actually going to follow through. I'm sure you've had lots of people say, oh, yes, I'll do this, or yeah, I'll do that. And then they've let you down at the last minute. That's what people are like, sadly. So this really helps if you tell them you appreciate the time they're spending, because obviously you're not paying them for it. And then let them know that you do something for them. And a really cool thing to say is, I'm going to put you in the acknowledgements in the book to thank you. Okay. And then you have a tick yes or no here. The reason why is that from a legal point of view, if you're going to mention someone in your book, you do want something that says they were happy to be mentioned in the book. And then you can do this if you want. I didn't do it for my book. Some of my clients have done it. You can incentivize it if you want to send them some Amazon vouchers or something like that. I personally don't. The way I see it is like, if someone wants to help me out, they're wanting to help me out. But you might, I don't know, it's up to you. The only advice I'll give you is, don't go crazy. Don't be offering people £100 in Amazon vouchers. Now you're going to attract people who are not really interested in your book. They're interested in your Amazon vouchers. So if you are going to incentivize it, make it nominal, a tenner. £15 maybe, nothing huge, because really they should be doing it because they actually are really interested in your subject matter, because remember, they're likely to be in your target audience, and therefore they're thinking, this is great, you want my opinion because I'm your target audience. Okay, but I'll put that in there because some of my clients have done that. I leave it up to you whether you want to do that or not. Then I literally give them bullet point list, well, a numbered list of exactly what I'm expecting them to do. Again, remember what I said before, the two key words you're looking for is you want to guide people and you want to create standardized feedback. This is where I'm guiding them. I'm telling them exactly what I'm looking for. I'm reiterating again that it's not really about, it's not editing. It's actually about the concepts, the sequence of information. That's what you're wanting them to do. I'm also reassuring them to not worry about hurting my feelings. You need to make sure people are aware of that, because people don't knowingly want to hurt somebody else. That's my belief. Maybe I've got rose tinted glasses here, but I genuinely believe the average human being doesn't set out to hurt other human beings. So therefore, they might worry about being, if they see something glaringly wrong, but they're thinking, oh, I don't want to point that out, especially because it's a book, because people really get, they get married to their book and they think their book is wonderful. And then someone else goes, oh no, there's something quite wrong with this, but they don't know how to say it. You're missing out on valuable feedback if you don't iterate to them, hey, I'm fine. Don't worry about being critical. Don't worry about hurting my feelings. I'd rather you tell me now so I can fix it, rather than be told by 100 people on Amazon with 1 and 2 star reviews. That's far worse and really humiliating. Okay, so this goes through. Now, I always say this is your form. You can change it up if you want to add to this list, if you want to take things out of this list, it's up to you. I personally wouldn't mess around with it too much. I have created this over time to create a form that really, really works and really does guide the best beta readers. So I wouldn't mess around with it too much, but you can if you want to add things or omit things. It's entirely up to you. And then finally, again, you can omit this, but I stress that you don't, because this really works. This is something I added in at a later date. I noticed with beta readers, what tends to happen is you tell them, right, I need feedback in, say you give them 2 weeks or 3 weeks. You contact them, you send them a message 3 weeks later. Oh, it's just been so busy. My partner's been ill. My kids have been playing up. This has been happening in my work. There's always excuses. And now you're waiting for months to get feedback from people. So I've noticed that when you actually book a time that you're going to speak to them again, that usually keeps them in line. I would give them maximum a month, ideally about 2 to 3 weeks, to read your book and give you feedback. And then what I would do is I would book a date and time when you're going to speak to them again after they've created the form, so you can go through the form with them. That actually keeps them in line. And I've noticed far more beta readers then actually stick to the timeline and do it, because they know they've got a call coming up. Because now they're going to have to contact you and say, oh, I can't make the call because I haven't done it yet. People don't like doing that. So it's up to you. You don't have to do that. But I find that when you do book a call in, more of your beta readers will stay within your timeline rather than letting you down. Now we move on to the standardization. Remember the two things I said is most important when you're getting beta readers to give you feedback. You need to guide them. That's what we've been doing for the last 2 pages. Now we're moving into how to standardize the information. And this is how I figured out it's best to do that. If you don't do it like this, what's going to end up happening is people give you lots of different feedback. You can't really compare and contrast, and it's just overwhelming. It's just lots of information that people now expect you to implement in your book. Instead, what we're forcing them to do is to actually grade each chapter. And this is really important, because now, in fact, what a lot of my clients have done is once they've got their beta reader forms back, they've just printed them out and just lined them up on a table, or they've lined them up on the carpet, so they can literally just look across all the feedback and see what the patterns are. So for example, if you see loads of people giving you 4s and 5s for your introduction chapter, your very first chapter, and you see one person is just giving you a 1, chances are that is more of a personal thing. I mean, by all means, look into why they gave you a 1. But if most people are giving you a 4 and a 5, then the chapter is good. That could be a personal thing as to why that person was turned off. However, if you actually see quite a few people giving you 2s and 1s for your introduction chapter, then that means there's something wrong with you. You're the common denominator here. So this is how this kind of table format really, really helps you, as opposed to just giving people just questions to answer. This kind of table format really allows you to see overall what is happening, what is going wrong with your book. You're going to get the odd 2, 3s, maybe even a 1 from somebody. That doesn't necessarily mean there's anything wrong with your book. Like I said, just could be a personal thing with that person. But if you can see a pattern, if you can see a particular chapter is scoring poorly for nearly all of your beta readers, then that's a you issue. You need to now figure out what's going wrong with that chapter, what's confusing people or what's putting people off. That you need to figure out. And this allows you to do that. And underneath here, what this allows them to do is you actually say which point, good or bad, tell me why. And that allows them to tell you exactly why they thought something was particularly awful or poor. And also I get them, I put this in as well, a note of the page number. So that way you're not wasting time hunting through your book trying to find which bit they're talking about. You're getting them to say, tell me which page number you had an issue with, or which page number you thought this was really, really good. So you can go straight to the root of it and see where the patterns are. Going down here, again, another standardized table. And again, this is kind of, again, I do this again and again throughout the form, because I've noticed working with so many beta readers now, one of the key issues with beta readers is no matter how much I tell them, they still turn into a flipping editor. And it's like, no, stop editing the book. There are editors for that. We don't need you to edit. And again, this is flushing them back. What they tend to do, beta readers, is they try to sink down into the book and start going into the detailed editing. You know, and they're like, oh, well, this sentence would be better if it was like this, or this will be punchier. No, that's an editor's job. That's not your job. You're not a professional editor. So you should, but it's not their fault, bless them. They just don't know. So this form continually flushes them back up to a high strategic level. So I'm asking things like, I want you to score how the information laid out visually. I want you to score for me the writing style in general. I'm not asking you to critique my, little bits of grammar that I've got wrong. Overall, what is my writing style like? How interesting and engaging is it for you as the reader? Please grade that. How clear are the instructions? Remember, these books are usually helping people learn something or to be able to do something. So by the time they get to the end of the book, they feel empowered to be able to do something or know something now. So how clear are the instructions? And again, I'm getting them to briefly explain and give you the exact page numbers that they're talking about, so you can quickly go in and see what's happening on those pages. And then finally, again, this is the final bit. We're keeping them at that strategic level. I'm constantly flushing them up to the strategic level, because they're like jellyfish, bless them. They just want to keep sinking down into your book and trying to find, Sarah's laughing at me, but they do. I've worked with so many now, and bless them, they do mean so well, but they keep sinking down like jellyfish into the guts of your book and and it's like, I've got editors for that. I have wonderful editors that are going to do that for my book, for my clients' books. That's not what I want you to do. I want you to stay at that top strategic level, because that's what those readers on Amazon and Ingram Spark and all those other platforms, they're not going to be nitpicking about the tiny little grammar issue here, or I doubt they'd even notice, to be honest. What they talk about, what they complain about, is a confusing book, a book that's made assumptions, a book that is all over the place and doesn't get to the point that it needs to get to. Those are the biggest complaints you see on Amazon and other places. So you want your beta readers to flush them. I think you're going to think of them as jellyfish now, aren't you? But you want to keep flushing them to the surface and stopping them from sinking down into your book. So again, I say general feedback, and then I tell them, is anything missing? That's a huge one. Sometimes as an expert in your field, you don't realize it. You're just too close to the trees that you can't see the wood for the trees. You know that old saying, you can't see the wood for the trees. You could have missed something so hugely obvious, and yet you haven't realized it because you're so close to it. So this is a really good one. Let me give you an example of how this has really, really changed things for me. So one of my very first beta readers, a wonderful guy called Dino, he actually has scored my book really high all the way through. Everything was 4s and 5s. I don't even think I got a 3. Then he got to anything missing, and he said, well, yeah, because your book is all about how people can write a book for personal branding and for thought leadership. but you haven't really explained how people will use a book to gain thought leadership and personal branding. I just thought, oh my God, I haven't. There was a whole discussion before. I'd gone straight into assuming people get why writing a book is great for their business and their branding. I just assumed people got it because I'm so close to that industry. I just thought, well, of course, everyone gets it. Apparently not. There's a lot of people out there who would like to write a book, but they don't actually see how it would benefit their business and their visibility and mark them out as a thought leader. They actually don't get that. So that completely changed the angle of my book. Now, if I hadn't put that in there, I would never have known. Because Dino had marked my book in 4s and 5s. He thought my book was fantastic, but there was a pivotal thing missing that I assumed people already got, but people didn't get it. So that's really important. This is an important one as well. Does anything need taking out? Again, because you're inside the book, you don't realize perhaps you've repeated yourself, perhaps you've used one too many case studies to actually say a point, and he said the point so much that the nail's not even hammered in now. It's now making a dent in the wood, and it's like you don't really need to hammer the point home that much. That's a really crucial one. You'll be amazed what people say. They're like, yeah, you didn't need to say that, or that bit was boring. You kind of already said it before. I think you were just reiterating it to make the point, but the point's already been made. Really, really good. It helps you to see where the fluff is. You don't realize how much fluff you put in, because you think, oh, it's all important. Yeah. Get your beta readers to show you where the fluff is. List 3 things you like about the book overall. This, by the way, I can't see her on my screen now, right now. She's still here, hopefully. I'm just trying to, Katrina, yes, she's still here. I couldn't see her straight on my screen. This, I put this in because this really, really helps Katrina regarding imposter syndrome. Really helps. You'll be amazed what people will say. They'll be like, oh my God, this book really helped me to change the way I see about something, or now I can do something. That helps you so much to see what people like about the book overall. I had to put in this one, of course, you need to make sure what list 3 things you dislike about the book overall. This will help you. But again, we're using the words overall. We're flushing them to that strategic high level instead of allowing them to go down to that detail level. This one I added in later on. I think it was like 2021. I added this on. This one I was like, mainly because I tend to use my book as, I tend to give it away a lot of times, or I literally charge what it costs me to print and send out, and that's about it. I use my book essentially as a sales and marketing tool. I'm not trying to make a ton of money from my books or anything like that. So for me, it's not really, I'm not really all that bothered about what people think my book price should be. However, I do have some clients who do want to make some kind of money from their book. This is a good question then. This gives you an idea of what your target audience is likely to pay for it. And then you can charge accordingly for your book. So that's a good one. And then is there anything else? Okay. So that is the beta reading process. If, like I said, I'm not saying you can't change anything from it. By all means, you can adapt some of it to suit you, but I would advise you not to mess around with this too much. It has been designed with a very specific focus, and that is to make sure your beta readers know exactly what they need to do. They're all singing from the same hymn sheet then, so you don't have one person thinking a paragraph will do and another person who's written a thesis on your book and you're thinking, what the hell? You're guiding them and they're all in the same hymn sheet, so they know exactly what's expected of them. We're continually flushing them up to the strategic level so they don't become pseudo editors, which is the last thing that you want. And also we are forcing them to give you feedback in a very specific standardized form, so then you can compare and contrast across your beta readers. That's what you can't implement. By the way, this is an extra thing. You can't implement everything that your beta readers tell you. You have to remember that your beta readers are fully fledged human beings that they've lived on this planet for however long they have. They have their own unconscious biases and things they like and they dislike. You can't please everybody, okay? So this isn't about taking every single thing your beta readers tell you and implementing it. A lot of times you can't, because there may be even conflicts. What one beta reader is telling you, oh, this is good, another beta is telling you it's bad, Okay, so you can't implement everything, and you shouldn't force yourself to implement everything. What you should be looking at is the overall feedback, the patterns, and seeing if there's a majority pattern here of something is wrong or something is right. That's what you need to act on, not the odd anomaly of a person saying, oh, this bit they didn't like. That's just a personal thing. Okay, and that's exactly what this form does. It forces them to give you feedback in a very standardized format, so you can literally compare all of your beta reader feedback and then make very strategic decisions based on the overall gist of the feedback that you're getting. So I hope that makes sense. So let me now come out of this. Oh, we've got one more person waiting to come in. I missed that. Okay, so, oh, Jeroy is gone. Is Jeroy gone? Oh, bless him. I'll catch up with him another time. Okay, so thoughts, people. I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Hello, Alan. Lovely to see you. I'm sorry you're having some problems with your emails right now, aren't you? Bless you. Yeah, I had my LinkedIn hacked a few weeks ago, so that was interesting. Managed to get it back, but there you go. Okay, so I'd love to know your thoughts. What are your thoughts? But first of all, I'd love to know, has anyone heard of the term beta reader? Have you used beta readers in the past? Tell me your experiences if you've used beta readers in the past.
I'd already planned to use beta reading, so it's nice to see you saying what you've said.
Excellent. And use that form. And what were you planning on? Maybe you have your own form. Did you have your own form?
No, I've got to create a form, so that's helped to create a shortcut.
Oh, great. Well, I've just saved you an hour, 2 hours of your time, really, haven't I? Yes, use that form because it will save you a lot of bother. Like I said before, feedback is great, but it can be overwhelming at the same time. You know, if you're getting lots of different kinds of feedback from lots of different people, it's like, like too many cooks spoil the broth, really, isn't it? It's just feedback flying from everyone. It's like, how do I make sense of it all? When you have a form like this,
and I'm writing my first book, and I'm a while away from getting that finished, but I will have it finished by the end of October.
Yeah.
And I've already got my beta. I've got quite a few beta readers because I've got a client-facing business, so I've got a lot of beta readers already lined up and interested.
Excellent. That's good. And these are people who are actually your target audience as well, Darren.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Perfect. That's exactly what you need because they're going to give you real feedback. That's what you want. You don't want people who are close to you. You don't want family members and friends because they're going to add in extra nuances that you don't need.
How many beta readers should we be aiming for? Is it half a dozen?
Very good question. Very good question, Katrina. I always ask for 10, knowing that 3 or 4 will probably let me down. So then you'll probably get 5 or 6, which is a nice number. It really depends. The best answer I can give you is if you are following my rules and you make sure the people that you're asking are either your target audience or adjacent audiences, then as long as you get about 5, you should be okay. If, however, you are struggling to get people who are your target audience, then you need a bigger group because you need to now see. But always try and get people who are your target audience, or like I said, somebody who has a similar audience to you. Yeah, so somebody who offers, maybe they offer a program or a course or something that they're not your direct competitor. They do something adjacent to you, but their audience is the same audience as you. Those people are great as well because they actually also understand your audience. So, but yeah, ask 10. You will have 3 or 4 people who will let you down. So therefore, if you can get 5 or 6, you've got a decent number of people giving you feedback. That's a good question. But yeah, aim for 10. Any other questions or any other thoughts?
I've got a question, Matali.
Yes.
It was actually inspired by Hanvi's earlier question, actually.
Yes.
Because I know a couple of other people that haven't launched their book yet, but they've written it. But they've done a really big strategy on social media, getting people's interest first and saying the book will launch. I mean, some of them are like 4 or 5 months out, but they're doing a weekly, let's say a weekly post Some of them are even doing some insights from their book before it's published, before it's launched to the public. What are your views on that kind of strategy?
I love it. I absolutely get your crowd involved. Get your crowd involved. I even went as far as I had 5 different mock-ups for my front cover, and I put it on social media, and I got people to pick their favorite cover. That was their favorite cover, so that's what we went with. It makes people feel bought into your world, so they're no longer just a potential book buyer. They feel as though they had some part in the success of your book, if that makes sense. So you really want to bring people in. So absolutely, you could even, if you wanted to, Harvey, you could even put a social media saying, I'm looking for beta readers, and actually find people who are interested in reading your book. And like I said, you can offer incentive, but make sure it's not so much that you get people who just want to do it for the money. That's, it needs to be something nominal, something like 10 or 15 pounds in Amazon vouchers or whatever. Or even something, I remember I gifted all my beta readers a really nice sort of wooden bookmark that I found on Etsy with, the name of my book on it. That's not they're not going to get rich off that or anything like that, are they? But that wasn't the point. Do you want to get people who actually are your target market, who are interested in your book and want to help you out? But that's a wonderful way. What I'm hoping to do for my second book, which is still just not happening because I'm so busy working with all of my authors, for my second book, I'm taking it one step further, and I'm even thinking about learning how to crowdfund the entire book. Not because I need the money, because a lot of people think crowdfunding is all about when you need the money. It can be that because you're trying to raise funds for something. But what I've realized now, that crowdfunding, and I know a couple of authors who've done this, they didn't even need the money to actually publish their book. They could have paid for it themselves. That wasn't why they were doing it. It was the marketing element of it. They can go out and say, look, we're crowdfunding this amazing book, and this is what's going to be out. And then they created like a tier system of awards. So therefore, there was if you invest this amount of money, you get a special limited edition book. Or you invest this amount of money, you actually get taken out for lunch with the author. And they created a whole tier system. And I thought, well, this is wonderful. Think about the visibility that this book is going to get before it's even launched. So now I'm thinking of, actually, I think I might crowdfund my second book. Not that I need the funding, but just literally for the marketing and the visibility opportunities. So that's a really good question, Sarah. And I think I love it. And you're seeing more and more of that. It's all about bringing people into your world. What was really nice when my book came out, and you can, if you go back in time, if you go back to 2021 on my Facebook and my other socials, you'll see this. I remember when it started to hit bestseller in the US and in the UK. I didn't even know other people had found out I had bestseller. They'd taken a screenshot, they'd put it onto social media and tagged me in saying, Mitali, you've just hit #1 in this category. Now, it's nice when you actually put on your socials, you've hit #1, but how much better is when other people are putting on social in public saying, hey, you've just hit #1 on this category, well done. And I had people who were they were creating selfies of them reading my book and posting on Facebook or Instagram and saying, just got Mitali's book, loving this. And then tagging me into it. It's like money can't buy advertising, really, isn't it? But that's the kind of community you foster when you bring people into, instead of I'm going to secretly go and create my amazing book and then launch it to the world, which used to be the old-fashioned way of doing it. Now it's like, be part of my process, be part of my world. And then people think like, oh, they almost feel a little bit that a part of your success is down to them as well. And that's a nice feeling. It's like I was part of that person's success. So that's a really, really cool way of doing it. And has that helped you, Harvey? Does that made you sort of understand how you could use social media a little bit for your book?
Yes, definitely. It's just there's different things you do when you actually written a book, and there's things that you can do beforehand. Yes. And, I see a lot of authors already putting stuff on social media saying, like you said, the 5 different covers, which one do you go for? And that's what I was thinking of doing. And I just thought, is there a formal process that you could actually follow? What would make sense? What to do first, what to do next?
Oh gosh, no, there isn't a formal process because this is just it's a free for all. It's whatever you want to reveal, Harvey. It's entirely up to you. It's how transparent you want to be. I wish I can give you a you should do this first and you should do this second. You know, I even have people. I didn't do this, but I've even had some of my authors who literally didn't even know what they were going to write about, and they started polling their audience. Or these are the 5 subjects I'm thinking of. Which one do you think is so? Right from the word go, like literally, what should the book be about?
Yeah,
Then
yeah,
putting that on social media. I didn't do that. I was like, no, I kind of know what my audience needs. So I'm not going to ask them, you know, create 5 different book concepts. So it's entirely up to you at what point you start letting the audience in. Or as I said, in future with my second book, I'm looking into crowdfunding my book. But if you think about it, that will be probably before even concept. So it's wherever you want to let people in. But I would urge you to let as many people in to the process because you just get buy-in. People just they start to like you and they see you as like, oh, they are part of your success journey. It's just how it is. I mean, I think that's just how social media has changed everything. You know, that's why you have so many brands now that have, you know, they start doing Instagram reels where it's like, you know, come with us and, you know, let's peek behind the curtain and see how we're making this. Or we didn't used to have that when I was growing up. It's like you went to shops and like that was the thing that you needed to buy and that was it. Now you can go on Instagram and you can actually find out how that thing was made. And you can meet the team who made that thing. And, you know, and that's what social media has done. We're just much more nosy. We want to know the people and the teams behind brands. And we want to like those people before we get any buy-in. So it's just, whether that's a good or a bad thing, Harvey, we can spend all day discussing that. But it is what it is, you know, that is what I do know, that it is what it is. And that's just how social media has transformed the relationships we have with businesses and brands. It has completely changed things.
Thank you for that.
Hope that helps.
That's really
okay. So before I take the next question, because we don't have much more time, just to let you know, if there's any one of you that is writing a book or looking to write a book and you'd like to discuss more on this, really get an idea of the strategies of what to do feel free to book in for a book idea audit. That's something I've started doing recently because I've had a lot of people come to me with, well, on the surface, great book ideas. But then when I've picked beneath the surface, there wasn't such a great book idea, not for them anyway, and what they're doing. So what I can do is I can have a 45-minute chat with you where I will figure out what your book idea is. If it's actually any good for you, it might be a good book idea, but it may not be good for you. So we'll figure out whether it's going to be good for you. And if it isn't, we can even figure out what should be the best book idea for you. So I'll show you how you can book that. So let me just go back to, here we go. So, oh yeah, this is just in fact, let me actually go here. That would be better. So this is just some of the successes some of my clients have had. They've been on TV, they've been in national papers, they've worked with influencers. So if that's what you're looking for, you want to really kind of get your thoughts, your values, your mission out into the world, then yes, we need to talk. So this is just one of my awesome clients. She actually wrote a book 20 years ago. And she hated the experience so much that it took her another 20 years before she wrote a second book. And the only reason she wrote it is because she met me. And she really struggled with beta readers in the past. She struggled with the entire book experience 20 years ago because she didn't have a specific step-by-step standardized way of going about things. And that's what happens with any task when you just don't have much of a structure and you're just kind of winging it. You're going to get overwhelmed. So if you prefer doing things that are structured and will get you from A to B, then do talk to me, because that's what I do. I help people, as you've seen just from the beta reading process. I create this kind of structure and step-by-step nature. So therefore the book writing and the planning and the launching becomes it's snag free and not overwhelming, which it normally is. So what I do is in that call, we go through the entire process of your book journey. We look at planning and writing. We look at how it's going to be edited, designed, and published. And we look at how you're going to market the book, how you're going to get PR for the book. All of that is important. You need all these things, or at least you need to start considering all of these things to make success. When you have one or more of this missing, that is when you don't have a book that works for you. Okay. So what we'll do in this session is we'll look at your book ideas. We'll look and see if thought leadership is right for you. We'll look at what process is going to get you there. And then if, only if my program, the Thought Leader Ecosystem, can help, only if it can help, then I will go through things like timeline, structure, how much it costs, etc. So all you have to do to book one of those, in fact, let me just put this into, I'll put this into the chat now. Okay. Oh, let's just go to everybody. There we go. So let me know if you can see that link into the chat. So all you have to do is just come on here. There's a small video that shows you exactly, just to prepare you so you know exactly how long this is going to be and exactly what you're going to get from it. And then just book yourself in so you know how this sort of thing works. You just click on it. Oh, is that all the time I've got this week? Oh, flipping heck, I must have 4 more meetings on Thursday and Friday than I thought. Okay, so there's only 5 p.m. left on Thursday. But if that doesn't suit, you've got far more time the following couple of weeks. So do just book yourself in. You know exactly how this works. You just put in all of your details. Do answer these questions, because again, it means that I'm prepared. I know exactly where you are in your business, your brand, your nonprofit, because that means I can get the most from you in the 45 minutes. If we're going over basic stuff in our call, then we're just going to lose 10-15 minutes that I could have just had all that information to start off with. So do answer all of this and then schedule your event. Okay, so I hope to speak to some of you. Okay, so where were we? Any other questions? We only got a few more. Well, we're kind of over, but you're all still here, so you must really be enjoying this. So this is good. But I'll stick around for a few more minutes. I'm here until the top of the hour when I do have a call with a client. Any other questions or ideas or feedback? I'd love to hear from you.
Well, I'm not a natural writer. I spent my life avoiding writing. And when I was due to give a 10-page annual report, I would hand in a 1-page with bullet points where we are, what we've achieved, and what we need to improve. And that was my standard.
Yeah.
The only reason I ever started writing was a personal challenge, having lost my eyesight, to write a book. And I wrote 3 books, but I'd never heard of beta testers or beta readers.
Yeah.
I sent them to Author House, which appears to be a complete rip-off company, because
I've heard of Author House, yes.
Yeah, because I can type something, but I can't see what I've typed. I've had to listen to what I've typed, and it's never the same. Well, it always sounds the same, but it's never the same.
Absolutely.
The whole thing was just full of mistakes.
Yeah.
Author House published all 3 books. They didn't edit them in any way whatsoever. And it was only after I got my surgery and I could just basically read, very large font, I realized it was full of mistakes. I had to edit them myself, and obviously I'm the worst person to edit. I did republish 2 of them, but I've never promoted them because I only wrote them for my own personal achievement.
Okay.
I've just written my life story, 1 chapter a week throughout 2023, and I've got a book on mindset and learning techniques, because I've been teaching mindset and learning techniques for 62 years now. So I've got these 2 books. I'll say they're almost ready to go now, but that's where I am now. But I need to get beta testers, and I really can't see the screen properly, so I have great difficulty doing anything technical. So I need support on things like that.
Well, definitely, I mean, use the beta reader form So, and what I would do is, you know, I did go through it today. By all means, I'll send you, make sure my assistant sends you the replay of this tomorrow so you can watch it again. I do talk through the entire form, so I'm not sure how much you were able to see on the screen, but I do talk through the entire form. Like I said, you don't really, I wouldn't change anything of it. That's not me being big-headed, but I do think I've created a damn good beta reader feedback form. And whenever I do find anything new that I can add to it, I always do add to it anyway. But that you can give to your beta readers, and that would standardize exactly what they give back to you. Now, the only issue I'm trying to think of how to help you regarding once you got the feedback, how do you see that? That's going to be, that's going to be interesting. I wonder if you tell them that the feedback, because what some people do is you give them the beta feedback form, they print it off and they start writing in it. Maybe what you need to do is tell your readers, no, please don't physically use a pen and write into the feedback. I need you to open it in Word and put it in and type it in. And that way you can get Word to actually read it out to you. And then that way you can hear the feedback that they're giving you. That's an interesting one. Let me look into that, Alan, and see if there's, I wonder how Word will cope with, how does it give you feedback regarding the table? How will it tell you whether someone has, I don't actually know.
Sorry to interrupt her.
Yes,
Sorry
no,
to interrupt, but could they not record it and send it to him?
Yeah, yeah, they could.
Or video themselves answering those questions.
I think where I worry about video and audio is sometimes then people just go off piece and they start chatting, don't they? And you don't, and next thing you know, Alan's got like about 5 hours or 6 hours worth of feedback to go through. He's thinking, kill me now, you know? So that's what I don't want. The whole point of the feedback form is it's very succinct. It's basically getting what you really need from them and only what you really need from them, not getting them to go and waffle off into some direction. And people do, especially if they don't have guidance. Let me look into that, Alan, and see if there's any way. I think if I go back to, I don't know how much of this you can see, Alan, so forgive me, but if we just go back to, if I share my screen again, if I go back to this form, it's going to absolutely handle, so these sections, it's going to absolutely handle fine. So things like, is anything missing? If they type in whatever they type in here, you can get Word to read that out to you. So that's absolutely fine. Where my worry is how does Word cope with this? So say somebody puts how the information is laid out visually and someone says, oh, it's fair, it's 4. How would Word read that out, how the information is laid visually? And then will it understand it's number 4 for fair? I don't know. I'll have to test it out and see.
But possibly ask them to delete the ones that it has not. So then it's only got to read out the number 4, not circle or put an X.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't want to go through 1, 2, 3, because then
yeah. So but if they delete it, if they wanted to score 4, if they deleted 1, 2, 3, and 5.
Yeah.
Word's only got one number to read out.
That's a good idea. So maybe put next to score, I would put delete as not required or something like that I would put. Yeah. Let me look into that, Alan, and see if there's any way that I can. I don't know how much I can do, but I'll see if there is a way. This is the only bit that worries me, the table. How does Word deal with that when it's speaking out loud?
Alan, I'll also ask my husband, who's partially sighted, and he relies on readers and things. I know he uses Dragon for dictation. I believe it can also read. So I'll ask him.
Oh, yeah.
I can get my screen to read, and I can blow it up. So if I can blow it up enough, I can make things out. It is a bit slow, but I do manage it. I cope with everything eventually.
Of course you do, Alan. Well, you managed to write 3 books that you weren't even bothered about people reading. You did it just because you were, you didn't want to have one up on your blind list. So I know, I can already tell you're a very stubborn guy and you make things happen. So yeah, I'm sure you will make this happen as well. Okay, everyone, so I'm coming up to the top of the hour. Was there any final questions? I've only got like another minute or so. Were there any final questions? Hopefully I've answered everything that I can think of. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope that's helped. Like I said, you will get the workbook plus that beta reader feedback form via email from my assistant tomorrow morning. So keep an eye out for that. I hope you've also clicked on the link earlier and picked your cause to donate to. Make sure you do that. It doesn't even cost you anything. So like, why not? And also, if you are thinking of writing a book, you're in the middle of writing a book and you think you could do with some help from me, do book yourself in for a book idea audit. I will make sure that your book is a good idea. We'll figure out the process to help you get to where you want to be, and let's talk. Okay, so thank you so much. I really appreciate. Thank you, Katrina. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, and hopefully see you at a future forum. Bye for
Thank
now.
you. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.